I'm Nathan Lawrence, managing partner and realtor with Royal LePage, and I'm here with Kathy Ulakovic, realtor with Royal LePage, one of our awesome team members. Kathy, thank you for volunteering to sit down in front of a camera and talk.
Thank you for allowing me to.
So I want to first start. I want to get to know you a little bit. I want you to tell us a little bit about what was Kathy before real estate, and then tell us a bit about your real estate journey. Like, how long you been in the business now?
16 years.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Flies.
It's been a minute. I was actually looking at photos from 2012. I was like, oh my God, how's a baby? I was a baby when I started in this. Now I'm looking, I'm like, oh, look at all them wrinkles. Oh, we're getting up there. But I know a lot more now. So it was a comfortable transition for me. I've always been in the service industry. And then I started as a receptionist at another real estate company.
Okay.
And one of the other realtors there was this amazing woman. And she just really cared about people. She really cared about her clients. And I just thought, I want to be you when I grow up. So I started taking my real estate courses, and I was very nervous because a person before me had failed, and I was really worried that I wasn't going to do well, but I ended up doing very well in the courses and then just hit the ground running. And I came to Royal LePage because the training here was absolutely excellent. Like, I just felt once I started the training that I had the confidence to go out, and being in any new position, you're going to be nervous and you're going to worry about making mistakes. And we always had backup. We always had someone to go to for questions. So it was a very comfortable transition going from the service industry into a different service industry. It was just a different type of service. So, and for me, it's always been about dealing with people. I had an office job and I hated it because I didn't have that human interaction. And I needed that. I needed to live off the excitement of other people, and really enjoyed actually dealing with everyday problems with them. Like, when I'm done dealing with a client, I really miss them. Like, I miss when they're gone. I like hanging out with them every day. So once I've sold them a house or I've sold their property and I don't get to deal with them on a day-to-day basis, I miss them. I miss them.
It's an addicting industry.
Absolutely.
It is an addicting industry to be in, and it's nothing from day to day is ever the same.
Never.
There's never a transaction that's the same. There's never a house that has, every house has its own challenges, its own problems. Every buyer or seller has their own specific needs, their own time frame, their own challenges they're dealing with, their own stress level.
You have to help with that stress level. You have to help if they have kids. You have to help if they have pets. There's always something different, always, and it's exciting because of that.
Yeah, it is an industry that I never saw myself in, and grew into, and I love this business. Like, absolutely love this business. So you've been in the business for 16 years. You've been with Royal LePage now for
15 and a half.
15 and a half. Okay. And you've just kind of seen your business grow.
Yeah, it progresses over time.
Yeah.
Like, in the beginning, you really have to hustle because you don't have a big sphere of influence. You don't have you have your friends and family. You need to grow beyond that when you first start in the business. And I would say the first 4 years, that's your main concern is growing your sphere of people that you know. And now at this point in my career, I'm just known. I get calls. I get referrals a lot. I don't do a lot of social media, which I need to do more of. And I know that. You were on me for years. Just do a video, and I didn't want to do them. And I'm getting better at it. Social media is such a big part of our industry now. Like, that has changed from then to now. Then it was all newspaper. Everything was on paper back then.
The old real estate news.
Once
a week.
Remember that? Oh my goodness. Yeah. Like, back then it was all paper, and now everything is digital. Everything is digital now. So it's very, very different. And it's been a learning curve for a lot of us, I think. A lot of the younger agents coming in, it's just, yeah, no big deal. And I'm like, yeah, big big deal.
And those changes in technology aren't slowing down anytime soon.
No, and they're always adding a new app or a new this or a new that, and then all of a sudden, Aria will throw in a new piece of paper, and you're like, I don't know what this paper's for. You got to figure that out. And where does it go, and who signs it, and yeah, so it's always evolving.
And it's not a sink or swim business. It's not where you can, back in, I'll say the olden days. No, back
Yep,
back a long
you're not
time
wrong.
ago.
You're not wrong.
It really was. You got your license. Here's a desk. Here's a phone. Here's a phone book. Start calling. And it doesn't work that way anymore.
Not at all.
There's so many facets to our industry that you really do have to be as a realtor, kind of all encompassing. You're a marketer. You're a social media specialist. You're a licensed real estate professional, and that in and of itself is a lot of work and energy that goes into maintaining that license. You are, you're a therapist. You're working with clients through some very difficult transactions sometimes, or life changes that can be difficult. And
life coach.
And
life
you're
coach
a life
is
coach.
a good word for
There's
it.
a good way of putting
Life
it.
coach.
So you're as a realtor, there is a lot more to this role than most people see or realize.
And always learning.
Constantly learning.
Constantly learning. There's a new product out for a house. You have to learn about that product. There's a new paper coming out from legal paperwork coming out from Korea. We have to learn about that. There's new social media stuff. You have to learn about that. And every time they change
to bylaws or changes to zoning,
you're always learning.
You're always having to be on top of it.
There's a new subdivision opening up. They're building there. You have to learn about that. You're always learning in this industry.
And it's fun.
Which makes it interesting.
Yeah.
It's not boring because of that, which is fun. Yeah, you're right.
You really do need a willingness to learn. You need a get up and go attitude. No one's going to hold your hand in this business. You need to wake up in the morning and know what you're doing today, right?
Yep.
You need the support and training behind you, and you gotta like people.
You gotta like people.
All kinds of people.
All kinds of people, because they're very different.
And we learn to help them through what they're dealing with in life. And that happens through building relationships.
Good and bad, because they have good and bad situations for selling a house. They have very exciting things like a baby's coming, and they have very sad things like divorce. Like there's a lot,
death in the family.
Like there's a lot of things going on in people's lives, and it's an honor to be able to help them through that. Like they're choosing you from all the other realtors in town, right? For a reason. There's a connection between you. You work well with them. That's what they're choosing you for.
And there's a trust.
There's a trust.
There is a very deep trust that, especially when you're working with somebody going through one of those big emotional adjustments and changes, whether it's a new, family's getting bigger, or, a family member's passed away, or there's a health reason or a divorce, they put a lot of trust in us. And there's a lot of responsibility with that trust. And we have an obligation to do our best to support them through that. And, trust isn't a tagline.
Absolutely not. No.
Trust isn't a tagline, isn't something that goes up on a billboard. Trust is earned through hard work, through dedication, through
good communication,
respect for the client and what they're going through, and being part of organized real estate and the structure of organized real estate designed to protect the consumer. You really said it. It's a privilege. It's an honor.
It's an honor. Yeah.
To help our clients and consumers through the things that they're going through.
Yeah, because we genuinely care. We're human. We genuinely care about them. And I think that sometimes any salesperson in any industry can get a bad reputation or a thought as if we're here for the money. We're not. We could do any other job in the world and make money. It's a choice to be here, and we don't make a every 2 weeks paycheck. We have to earn our money. We could be a little more secure in another industry, but we choose not to be for a reason, and that reason is we genuinely care about people. We genuinely want to help them.
It's, as a realtor, you're a sole proprietor, you're self-employed. And you're right, it is a commission-based industry. It is an industry that you can show a client 2 houses and close a transaction and help them through finding their dream home. You can work with a client for 2 years and show them 40 houses before they find anything. And the average consumer doesn't see the behind the scenes work that goes into everything related to this industry. Maintaining your knowledge, staying on top of tools that are coming up, dealing with the research and the calls and the questions and the managing and showing processes. There's they see us when we meet with them, but they don't always see the 2 a.m. in the office prepping for that listing to go live tomorrow. They don't necessarily see us showing up at the house with a mop and a vacuum because the client had to go to town last minute, or it's a vacant house and you need to tidy it up, right?
Or shoveling because
shoveling.
It just snowed 4 feet and you're like, I guess I'm shoveling today. Right? Not my house, your house.
Yeah. So it's it's a business you're in because you genuinely enjoy the people and you genuinely enjoy the business. Because there's a lot of the business that is not sexy. It's not videos. It's not listing videos.
It's not.
It's paperwork, and it's cleaning, and it's late nights, and it's long days, but it's also
trudging through snow, trudging through rewarding. Rain. There's a lot to it that people. I don't know how many pairs of heels I wrecked because I had to walk through someone's deck and I fell through the deck, and I stopped wearing heels years ago. That was a learning. That's a learning right there. Right there. Don't wear heels to people's decks or the gravel driveways. Just wrecked heels. So I stopped wearing heels. Yeah. Everything's a learning process, right? That's a good one.
But despite it all, I wouldn't change what I do at all.
No, not for a minute.
I love doing this. I love the company. I love the brand. I love being part of Royal LePage. So let's switch, and I want to chat about, we're start of April right now. We're kind of at the cusp of our spring market, and
spring that doesn't seem to be coming for Thunder Bay, but it will.
Snow seems to be hanging in there. That said, I think you've probably noticed it. I know that I've noticed it around the office. The activity's picking up.
Yeah,
the phone's ringing. People are thinking about now, what do they need to do to prepare to, start looking for a house, or to put that sign in the front yard to get that house listed for sale. So, let's talk about the buying side for a second. You've got a client sitting at home, whether they're looking to, buy their next home, or they're looking to buy the camp property or an investment property, or they're in mom and dad's basement. They've never bought a home before, and they're thinking, okay, now's the time. What's, aside from picking up the phone and calling a Royal LePage realtor like yourself?
Yep.
What's their first step? What should they be thinking through right now to put them in the best position possible for the spring market?
First things first, finances. You got to have your ducks in a row with finances.
So what does that mean?
That means if you're buying, you're talking to a bank. If you're selling, you're talking to a bank. You want to make sure there's not any penalties coming if you decide to sell. You want to make sure your money is accessible if you're taking something out for a down payment. You want to have your ducks in a row financially, and you want to know that you're shopping in the right price point. You don't want to be looking at a $700,000 house and falling in love and finding out you can only spend $5,000. Right? You want to have your realistic ducks in a row. Okay. That would be absolutely number one.
And I want to add that you want to make sure you're chatting with a mortgage specialist.
Absolutely.
Somebody that's dedicated, and that is their job. I think quite often we underappreciate the importance of dealing with a professional, whether that's the dedicated mortgage specialist, the insurance broker that knows your market, the lawyer that has a team that specializes in real estate transactions, and in terms of real estate, that licensed real estate professional. Working with that dedicated professional matters.
Absolutely. When you run into the slightest hiccup, those people that do this every single day are going to know what to do. They're going to know where to send you. If you're working with some random guy that just started and they run into a hiccup, they're not going to know where to help you. They're not going to know what to do. What's the next step?
How often do hiccups happen?
Every deal. Every single deal. There is something that is going to pop up.
So that buyer now pre-approved, they know what they're shopping for. They know their top end, but they also know what they're comfortable going to, because they can be two different numbers sometimes.
Absolutely. First
Right?
thing I do ask when I meet a new buyer is I sit down with a coffee for them and we go through this whole spiel of what are we going to do here? And I go through the exact process of what you need to do, what you're signing, and why you're signing it, when you're writing a check, like, and what that check is for. Every single, and nobody does checks anymore. They're all e-transfers, but I say that because I'm old school. And I still do everything on paper in front of them because of that.
Yeah.
Because I'm old school, it's easier for me to do that. Some people do it through Zoom. I want to meet them. I want to see them face to face. But anyways, yeah, that would be the first thing, is get your finances together and then sit down with somebody that's going to explain it to you. If you've never done this before and you're just signing an email arbitrarily, hoping you're you're signing the right thing, it's a scary and stressful process. So when I sit down with somebody, I'm going to show them everything that they're going to sign throughout the process. Here's your buyer representation. Here's your agreement of purchase and sale. Here's everything, every single piece of paper that you're going to see. It's not filled out. You're not going to sign it now, but you're going to know when I do send it to you for signatures what it says. And it's a, I hope, comforting process to them that way. It sort of slows things down, but speeds them up at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it does. So pre-approved, you've had these conversations with the client, you've walked them through what the expectation is going to be, what they're going to see and experience through the process. In our market, there's not a ton for sale. We have a very low inventory of listings, and it creates challenges for buyers. It creates opportunities for sellers. The important thing from a buyer perspective is you got to be able to compromise a little bit. So, I'd imagine you're walking them through their wishes and what they want for a home, and then trying to help them put that in perspective based on what's available, based on their timeline, based on their affordability, and coaching them through that.
Absolutely. That's from the first conversation. I ask for their wants, but I actually more need their needs. And you're absolutely right when you say their max price point from the bank is not necessarily their comfort zone.
Why is that?
Because the bank is going to tell you you can get this much money, but this much money might make you house poor. You might never go camping or never go on a trip, or because you spent that much. So they might be more comfortable spending a little bit less. And that puts us in a different price point. So it's a more comforting spot for them. So that's where we're going to concentrate. You might end up going over that, but you might get under that.
The important part about that is making an informed decision.
Absolutely.
So they understand what they're getting themselves into when they're, putting that offer in on a property. So you got a buyer, we've gone through all this. Now we're house hunting. What does that experience look like for a buyer?
If it's immediately exciting. They're always excited to see their first couple houses, which is always kind of nice. And I'll admit this, I live off their excitement.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore when the first time buyers get their first house. They're so excited. They're so happy. I live for that. A lot of times though, you're going into competition and there's disappointment. Okay. You're going into competition, there's disappointment. So at some point, either if it's either one or both buyers, if it's a couple, will throw their hands up and go, I quit. Like, I'm so disappointed for the last time. And I always, give me one more house. Just give me one more house. And the next house is usually the house, and it's the best house. So I've said this time and time again to buyers is what's meant to be will be. when we get that house, you'll look back and go, you're right. The rest of those houses were way worse than this one for us. This is the house for us. And they're ecstatic. They're happy. And I've seen it, I don't know how many times. Like I said, I've been doing this for so many years. And it's hard to prepare someone for disappointment. I tell them what's going to happen. They kind of don't believe it until they feel it. Then they're like, you said this was going to happen. You're right. You said this was going to happen. And when they do get the house, they're like, you're right. You said this was going to happen. I'm like, I know. I've seen it. So it's hard to set them up for disappointment, but you have to set them up for disappointment to get them to the happy place.
Yeah.
That's a big thing in this market.
So we get them to that happy place. They've got an accepted agreement of purchase sale in place. From that point to firming up that transaction to closing, what's your role through that? What do you do to help the client?
Well, I've already warned them from that first cup of coffee that this is going to be the most stressful week in their life. And they are more than likely going to have buyer's remorse and want to back out because it's so stressful. But in 5 days, it will be over. So we are going to make sure that everybody who needs the information about the house has it, being at the bank, being at the insurance company. We're going to have all that ready to go because we were prepared for that. Our ducks were in a row to begin with. So that's just a matter of forwarding paperwork. And then we're going to do a home inspection. And if it's a country property, there might be more inspections to do. If it has a fireplace, there's another inspection that needs to be done. There's all kinds. Every house has its own quirks that we have to work through.
Talk to me about those conditions for a second. Why are they important? Why do they matter?
They're huge. They're huge. If there is a fireplace and we need a wet inspection, you're not getting home insurance without that. If the seller has one, but it's from 20 years ago, the insurance company is more than likely not going to accept that. Yeah. So if it has any type of wood burning apparatus in it, we need to have that inspected. And it's not that we need to know that it's working or not. It's not that we're accepting or not accepting of it. Without it, the insurance company is just not going to give you home insurance. Yeah. And without home insurance on the day of closing, they won't forward your mortgage. So this is just a domino of issues that we're just going to fix before we even get there. If there is a septic tank or any kind of septic system, and that could be anywhere from $40,000 to $100,000 to repair. You need to know that that's working. You can't just go in fingers crossed. Because if that goes and you've just given all your money over to buy a house, what do you have left? An outhouse? No, you need to know that this stuff works. So yeah, those conditions are very, very important. A lot of times a home inspection, some sellers are worried about it because you could come up with some major issues that they weren't aware of. But I mean, knowing that going in, you might have a plan to repair so-and-so or this and that, or they can help you do that. Like there's all kinds of, you need to know.
Well, and let's say something big comes up during that home inspection. It's better then than 2 days after closing, and now it wasn't disclosed, you're in a lawsuit and there's bigger problems. It might seem overwhelming in the moment to get an answer that seems a little scary, but you can deal with it when you know it and you can work through the challenge as opposed to pretending things don't exist and hope for the best.
Well, knowing what's happening as it's going on, it's helpful with problem solving, as opposed to yelling at people to fix this. Who's going to do what when? It's easier to do that before than after.
Yeah. So buyer found their place, worked through conditions. The office has helped make sure that the solicitor's office has everything they need. And on closing, they get their keys. They're super happy. Let's flip to the seller side. So now, same scenario. You've got, somebody at home thinking it's time to downgrade. It's time to upgrade. It's time to, move out to camp. It's time to buy my first home or my first rental property. But I need to deal with what I own right now. I own a home right now. And am I keeping it? But if I decide I'm selling it, aside from calling that Royal LePage realtor, and saying, hey, can you help me list my home? What should that prospective seller be thinking through right now, getting ready for a spring market?
So it depends on what type of homeowner they were from the beginning. I'm the type of homeowner that every single year I pick a project, whether it be a big project or a small project in my house needs to get done. If this seller has never done that, it's going to be a longer process prepping that house. Um, what I would do if I were that seller is I would start in one room of the house making a list of what needs to get done. Now, what needs to get done might be a little bit of caulking, a little bit of paint. It might need to be getting rid of 30 pieces of furniture or 3. Every single house is going to be different, but there is prep work to do.
Okay.
I'll guarantee it. Very, very few houses are ready to go immediately. Just because when you live in a house, you don't notice little things after a while, or maybe you do notice them and don't know what to do about them. So I've been a single mom owning my own house for a long time. I've learned through trial and error so many things on what to do and what not to do. I mean, caulking is one of the big ones. Caulking should be refreshed pretty regularly, and a lot of people don't know how to do it. So practice. There's corners of a box and you get a little caulking gun and you practice so that it doesn't look like you put it on with a trowel. There's little things that can be done throughout the house. But make a list of everything that needs to get done in the house and then start prioritizing. And prioritizing might be financially prioritizing, or it might be time prioritizing. It could be temperature. I mean, if you're doing caulking outside, you can't do it right now. It's too cold. Same with painting. You can't do it outside right now. It's too cold. But declutterizing and deep cleaning is huge. And what I mean by deep cleaning is you move every piece of furniture in that room. You find out what's behind it. Because if you have animals, I guarantee you there's dog hair back there. I guarantee you. I moved a piece of furniture yesterday. I'm like, oh, look at that dust bunny. The size of one of my dogs. You don't really notice until you do these things. That would be number one, is start prioritizing lists. Number 2 would be, if you can't do it yourself, start looking for somebody that can do it. Because I guarantee you, people are calling already, construction companies. And yeah, they're doing that already now and booking out. If your shingles need to be done, you need to be calling last month, because they will book up, and they will book up fast, especially reputable, good companies.
Yeah, especially any exterior work.
Any exterior
right?
work.
You know, it's our winter doesn't seem to want to end. And some of that exterior work, really, that window of time frame that is done in can be quite short.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a lot of houses in Thunder Bay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work to do, and there's, you know, not always a ton of contractors. So
Absolutely.
it does fill up quick.
That's what I mean. It's absolutely, that's something that should be done as soon as possible if you have work that needs a contractor, because they are going to book up fast. And that, if you're planning on selling, could affect the timing. And our spring market is real busy, but there's a lull in our summer market people don't really know about.
Yeah.
So if your stuff is being done and your house is going on the market right before that lull, that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
We gotta strategize around that. So
you've the seller has gone through, they've called you, you've helped them identify some of the work that needs to be done. They've worked through all of that, and now we're ready. So what are your steps, paperwork wise, as well as planning and getting that sign in the front yard?
I do kind of the same thing. I go through and I go through everything clause by clause with the seller. I explain any questions that they may have, and it's on paper. It's not digital yet. It's supposed to be, but I still do it on paper. Yeah. And then we book in a photographer, we get in some staging, and once the house is up and ready, we do some videos, and if it's possible, maybe a drone. It really depends on the house. And again, the weather, because if it's windy, that drone's not going to work. Lots of people don't know that if it's too close to the airport, the drone is not going to work, right? So I mean, every house has its own issues, so we deal with those as they come. And once all the marketing material is ready, then we put it up for sale. And the last thing I do right before we put it up for sale is, I've already done pre-pricing with solds. I do a second evaluation with what's currently on the market. So I know what we're up against, and the seller knows what we're up against, because that's our competition. And if it's nothing, it's nothing. But if it's a lot, you need to know that. You need to be strategic about that. Um, I don't know if everybody does that. I don't know. I guess everybody does that, right? The second net CMA.
A lot of agents do. I think it's just responsible to know what you're about to do. And also, depending on when you did that first CMA, it may have only been 2 or 3 weeks ago, but there could be adjustments.
Absolutely.
There could absolutely be adjustments in this market where all of a sudden, again, the demand is stronger than we anticipated originally 2 weeks ago, and you got to recalibrate
Yep.
a little bit.
Yep.
Up
Price
or
may have
down,
gone up.
right?
Price may have gone down.
So you want to be as accurate as possible when that listing hits the market.
And I
Because it
think
matters.
that's something that a lot of sellers don't understand is when they want to know a price for their house and what to do to it to get it ready. I'm giving them a price from a couple months ago. But if you're not going to be ready to sell for 6 months,
Yep.
that number I can almost guarantee is going to
It's gonna
change. So it might be a good number, it might be a bad number at that point. But 6 months from now, it'll be a different number. Chances are. And there'll be a flux in our market. So I mean, there'll be more buyers or less buyers. So it's a fluid thing, real estate. Like you have to, it ebbs and flows.
Yeah. So signs in the front yard, you've worked through your showings, and you're at offer presentation point in time. You've got, doesn't really matter, maybe you've got 1 or you've got 3 or 10 offers. Who knows in this market? It really depends on price point and depends on timing. But what do you do at that point then with the seller? What are you walking them through when you're presenting offers?
What each offer is offering them. And
Okay.
by that, I don't mean just price. I mean, a lot of times there is a letter that comes with, because the buyer wants their house so bad, we call it a love letter. So a buyer sometimes is submitting a love letter. Sometimes those really matter. If that house has a lot of sentimental value, sometimes that letter is what sells the house.
I think we often forget, or consumers can often assume that a seller is purely motivated based on sale price.
Right? Money is not always the
And
biggest
it's
deal.
not always the case. Don't get me wrong, sometimes it is. You've got a young family that is looking to upgrade, and that best offer might make or break things. But you could also have a seller that raised their family in that house, have been there for 35 years, and maybe they're not as concerned about what they walk away from when that house sells, but they want that house to go to somebody that's going to make it a home just like they did. And they might be willing to take $5, $10, $30,000 less
To the right family.
to the right family.
Yeah.
We've even seen scenarios where a seller has wanted to meet the potential prospective buyers personally and sit down and have coffee with them to get a feel for who they are as people, because they wanted that home to go to a family, somebody that they felt reflected their values. So it's sort of wrong to assume, no, it's not sort of, it is wrong to assume that money always matters.
Yep.
Sometimes it doesn't. Now, when you're in a competitive environment, you do really got to think as a buyer about putting your best foot forward. You got to think about what that looks like. You got to think about what's right. But when you're presenting those offers to your seller, you're helping them make an informed decision based on their priorities. So walking through conditions,
yep,
understanding what they mean. Because you may have an offer that has no conditions, but it doesn't mean it's the best offer. It might also have the highest price, but it might not mean it's the best offer for a number of different reasons. But you're there to help them understand the implications of those different scenarios so that they can choose something that they feel is best for them.
And I'm not making a choice. I'm just showing them what their options are. I am never making a choice. It is always up to them.
Yeah.
It is always up to either buyer or seller. Yes, I work independently, but I work for them. My job is to help them you're right, make an informed decision. And if they don't have a pro or con either way, you have to help them figure that out.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm there for, as well as all the background stuff.
Yeah. And I think the other important thing, and it's about that trust and that integrity. Sometimes it's about slowing the buyer or the seller down.
Yeah. I've talked a few people out of doing things that as a salesperson, I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
But as a realtor, as a human being, I'm like, this is a bad idea. You guys can't do this. Like I want what's best for you, even if you don't know what's best for you is. And sometimes slowing them down and giving them a couple minutes to make that thought, make that decision. You're like, yeah, you were right. We shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
I'm glad you stopped us.
Is there anything I missed? Anything we haven't talked about that you've been thinking about as we've been going through our conversation?
I don't think so.
No?
Yeah, I think we covered lots of things.
Okay. Kathy, thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you taking the time and sitting down and sharing some of your experience with us.
I'm just saying, I didn't curse once.
You did.
I didn't curse once. High five me.
High five to that.
I didn't curse.
Thank you, Kathy, for taking the time today to chat and share your experience. And with the spring market picking up, get back to work.
Yeah.
Have fun. Enjoy.
Yeah. I'm going to go get ready to shovel some more because there's more snow coming.
There's more snow coming.
But I'm ordering wooden planters, I'm thinking proactively.
We can hope.
I can hope. I'm gonna grow something this year.
But you're like the person that puts away their shovels. There's always the person that puts away their shovels.
And the snow
too soon. The snow's coming.
Yeah, I'm that
It's
person.
your fault now.
Sorry.
You went and bought wooden planters. It's now your fault.
I haven't bought them yet. I'm just looking.
That's all it takes.
So my fault.
Okay. Thanks again, Kathy.
You're welcome.